I'm curious about the thing you were telling me earlier. How did it become known that you were not popular there on the Australian show? Did people call in and say, get those two awful people off the air, or what?
There was no reaction from the public at all. It was entirely a decision made by the Australian Broadcasting Board of Control.
Just a small group of people who said, you know, I think really they needed to do something that looked rather powerful at the time. They'd been criticised for not exercising any power, and I think they felt that was a good moment, you know.
Or else they were drunk, I don't know.
That might have been that.
Dick, you realize how things in England have changed. Now, years ago, I would have been dressed like Peter and Dudley, and they would have been dressed like I am. Now, here they are from England. They're dressed like Americans, and I'm dressed like what we think of as an Englishman.
I think you look superbly turned out, Kirk.
Yeah.
I think you're a credit to your nation, which he got wrong. And I much prefer this sort of dress.
Yes.
I wish I could afford it.
And you, sir?
Well, sir, I used to wear exclusively, I remember years ago, sort of suits and ties and things, but I suppose I never do now. I find it very difficult to put them on. So much of it, you know.
Yes, difficult.
No,
It's tricking. Yes, tricking.
You get the thing where...
What kind of Englishman is that? I hear that all the time in London, what you were just doing.
You don't know.
No.
Well,
I meant what class of accent was that you were just doing?
That sort of...
Well, it's puff class, isn't it, really? Oh, you don't... Maybe the word puff doesn't...
No, that means nothing
exist
here.
over here. Pardon?
That means nothing here.
It means camp. Don't really know how to go on. No, but,
homosexual, would be the word, yes.
Well, it's a theatrical sort of voice, shall we say.
But you do hear that, and then there's a lot of English accents sound effeminate to Americans, you know.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah.
Really?
You come up with that? Jesus!
No, I'm not kidding you. No, I've been, as the first night I've been attacked from every side.
I must admit, I do sound rather effeminate.
When you're talking
I hadn't said that at all.
I'm talking naturally.
Now you're on your high horse.
Actually, I find, maybe I can't hear properly, but American accents seem to have a sort of a more, I mean, apart from the differences between South and North, there's a more level sort of sound. I mean, in England, you really do get a working class
Are you trying
sound.
to say monotonous?
No.
Just not as big a range of dialects.
No, it doesn't seem. And yet somebody said the other day about somebody that's a real New York accent, and I couldn't tell. But maybe it's a question of getting used to the sound. It's something maybe that, in reverse, makes English comedy on TV not palatable to American audiences. You know, American audiences often find it difficult to follow
understand
English accents, and I never know why, because we don't really have any difficulty following an American accent at all. Is that
Americans have a notoriously bad ear for dialect or somehow, or for understanding foreign accents. I've had guests on that I thought I understood perfectly, but people say we didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, because of the accent. But
I notice we're being subtitled all the time.
No, I doubt that.
But you say that English television is not palatable, that we don't like English television. On the contrary, when you think of All in the Family, Sanford and Son, and I think there's another movie, another TV show that's been taken from English
But they haven't
TV
been seen
series.
over here, have
But
they?
not English-speaking
They've
actors.
been made American.
I mean,
Yes, but
Yeah.
the
The
core
situation
of it,
is
yes,
situation, yeah, but not
But the accent is
not the
different.
actual.
Well,
program.
nobody would understand that English that people speak.
How do
What do
they?
you mean? Are you trying to tell me you can't understand what I'm saying now?
Yes.
What I'm saying now is clear. It's Queen's English, isn't it? If you can't understand a Queen's English, you're in for problems, because she speaks proper like.
How does
Yeah,
she speak?
my
in fact?
husband and I, she does all that.
What is your accent?
My husband and I.
I would like to, this Christmas tide, wish you, the nation, and all that.
Oh, now I understand.
Yeah, right.
The Queen speaks that way?
Yeah, she speaks like that, doesn't she?
Well, when she's in the betting shop, yeah.
What?
In the betting shop, or the off-course betting.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first newspaper the Queen reads is a newspaper in England called The Sporting Life, which is just a guide to the day's racing.
How do you know?
How do I know that?
Yes.
Well, I'm not
Tell
going to
the
give away.
viewers.
I'm not going to give away the
No,
little
quite
thing
not.
which went on
No.
with the Queen. I mean, I think
been in
that'd
the
be
royal-
disrespectful.
Well, no, I happen to know that the Queen speaks much differently from that. But there's what they call an upper-class accent in England, but it's not the accent that the Queen has. You know, people say, let me say right away.
Yeah.
And that isn't the accent that the royal family has.
She has a
but what is
slightly
that?
strangulated sort of tone, which in fact came in for a lot of public criticism. And she's sort of made it a little more palatable to English people, but it was...
I think it's just very high breeding that does it. I mean, I don't know if Secretariat talks different from other horses, but...
Probably. Are you fans, I mean, are you appreciated by the royal family? Everybody sees everybody on British television. The whole country sees you. And have you ever heard from them? Would you...
Oh, yeah.
We've been told that they watch us and like us. And Princess Margaret certainly is a fan. Like, she comes to the show and does things like that. But
Yes, we've been out.
Say, what's the scandal that's going to come out of London? There's a medium, is it in this country or your country, who's been, not a medium, but a clairvoyant, who said there's going to be a big scandal, even bigger than the Profumo scandal, which would mean a sex scandal of some kind, which seem to always have in England. Do you know about this? A lady is predicting this. Does that hit the papers over there?
no, I've had no news of a big scandal coming out in England. What could I predict would be the next big... The big scandals we have, the really big scandals, are very much hushed up. You don't read about them. The press has far less freedom than over here. The libel laws are very stringent. You couldn't possibly perpetrate the sort of leak that comes out in this country, say about Agnew, the inspired leaks, that the newspaper wouldn't be on the stand. You couldn't prejudge anybody. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I prefer a much freer press in England. I like the press here.
Yeah, but don't you think the press in England is quite free? I mean, it's quick to say...
Not on that point, though. Apparently, they have to be extremely careful.
Oh, not on the governmental level, but on a personal level of saying things about people. I mean, they're quick to say if there's a bit of gossip or anything.
Oh, gossip they do. Yeah. And which is one good thing about the American press, that there seems to be a sort of tacit agreement that, say, a politician is involved in a minor way, like Lord Lambton was, or Lord Jellicoe was, who were both fired from the British government because they'd been to a call girl. Now, that would be a matter of total unimportance to the American press. They'd know about it, but they wouldn't print it. And they're very right not to print it, because unless he's a madman, it's not going to affect his competence. And in fact, I think Lord Lambton was very unfairly treated, because he's a busy man. And the reaction in England was a lot of saying that here's this very attractive man, and he knows a lot of people, he knows a lot of society ladies and so on, so why doesn't he go with them? Instead of going to a prostitute. And I think the answer is that he is a busy man. You go to a society lady, you take her out to dinner, you take her to the theatre, and eventually, perhaps, after a great deal of conversation...
I wonder if you'd be interested in... we've had an awfully nice evening, and...
Whereas Lord Lambton spent half an hour, and then he'd get back to the business of government.
That's true. They really... he was saving the people's time and money. They should have decorated him. We have a message, and we'll be back.